Good morning, students. To continue learning, let's understand operant conditioning. Operant conditioning was given by B.F. Skinner. He was also a behaviorist and author, inventor, and a professor of psychology at Harvard University. Students, Skip Skinner specially designed a Skinner box to teach us about the operant conditioning. What is operant conditioning? Operant conditioning refers to the conditioning of the behavior and responses that are under the control of animals or human beings and are emitted voluntarily by them. स्टूडेंट्स जो हम बिहेवियर को कंडीशन कर रहे हैं वो हम खुद कर सकते हैं, वो हमारे कंट्रोल में है. नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट ब्रीदिंग. ब्रीदिंग इज़ इनवॉलेंट्री, वी कांट कंट्रोल इट. वी कैन कंट्रोल इट लिटिल बिट बट नॉट टोटली. हम उसको अपने आप से निकालना या बंद नहीं कर सकते. बट खाना खाना, कितने बजे खाना और कितना खाना, these are all voluntary. Okay, so the operands are under our own control and that is conditioned. Now, for this, he designed a Skinner box in which a rat was placed inside it, and the rat was hungry. What happened? The rat moved around the box and it was covered from all four sides. So he moved around scratching. What he will do? Scratch to move out. By chance, a lever was pressed and the food came. He ate the food. In number of trials, when he scratched, he did not understood why and how the food came. But eventually, when the number of trials increased, it understood that there is something on this wall which is causing the food to come. And later on, it was observed whenever this rat felt hungry, he went towards that wall, pressed the lever, and got the food. So, rat in a cage learned to press a pedal to release food. This is the learning, this is the conditioning. Okay, positive reinforcement learning occurred as a result of behavior change. Now, what is the behavior change? Pressing of the lever. We taught the food taught and the requirement taught the rat to press the lever, and this is known as operant conditioning. Now, there are various features or the determinants of operant conditioning. First is reinforcer. A reinforcer is defined as a stimuli or event which increases the probability of the occurrence of the desired response. Okay, the behavior is learned, maintained, or changed through its consequences called reinforcers. Right? There are four features of the reinforcers: types of reinforcement, frequency or number of reinforcement, schedule of reinforcement, or delayed reinforcement. First is positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement involves present consequence that satisfy needs. They strengthen and maintain the responses that have caused them to occur. For example, if we are doing a dog training and we give something good to the dog, give a treat, give our attention, then what we can teach him? We can teach not to jump again and again or other things, whatever we want to, right? Negative reinforcement involves unpleasant and painful consequence that lead to learning of avoidance. Now we take something away, a bad away, then what happens? Stop pushing the dog down. No jumping is encouraged. Here also the desired behavior is encouraged, but how we have encouraged? By taking away something bad, and we have stopped pushing the dog down. So this way, no jumping is encouraged by giving the negative reinforcement. For example, in this negative reinforcement, it leads to the avoidance and escape response. Right? Now, positive reinforcement can be different for different people. Like it can be food like candy and chips, it can be a compliment, It can be activities that if we take a child to the dancing or something else, then it will be a positive reinforcement. It can be just people, like if you take a person to meet someone, that is also a positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is different for different people. But students, we have to remember that positive reinforcement is different from bribery. In positive reinforcement, the reinforcer is in control. For example, the adult. In bribery, the child is in control. If we are talking about the parent and child, if we are talking about a teacher and a child, right? In positive reinforcement, given during the desired or appropriate behavior, like we give a praise to a child when he does something good, but bribery is given when the child is engaging in problem behavior. Now child is doing something wrong and I say that yeah, I will give you this if you do this. Now what I am using, I'm using a tactic to stop the problem behavior in the movement, right? if ब्राइबरी इज़ ऑलवेज, आप रोगे नहीं तो आपके साथ ऐसा होगा, तो ये हमारी टैक्टिक होती है प्रॉब्लम बिहेवियर को रोकने के लिए. लेकिन पॉजिटिव होता है कि इट इज़ गिवन इमीडिएटली व्हेन एक्सपेक्टेड बिहेवियर बिगिंस. नाउ द चाइल्ड स्टॉप्स क्राइंग एंड इज प्लेइंग. You have been a very good child. Wow, wonderful. The praise, the encouragement, that is a positive reinforcement. The student chooses the positive reinforcement they are working for. An adult chooses the movement or based on what child wants in the middle of the behavior. Now, bribery is given by the adult because the child has chosen that. Okay, if the child is saying, I want that, and don't want him to cry, that is why I will give what the child wants. Okay, so positive reinforcement is a teaching tool and the bribery is a quick fix. Quick fix means an instant covering up. Okay, it encourages positive and expected behavior, and bribery encourages problem behavior. Example, when you are sitting in a chair and working, then you get a token of positive reinforcement, which you can later on get something positive, right? And if you get out from the under the table and stop screaming, I will give you a token. For example, you people are eating dinner and the child goes inside the under the table, and the mother wants him to come out of the table, and then she says, yeah, if you will come out of the table and stop screaming, I will give you an ice cream. That is a bribery. Now, operant conditioning also depends on the number and quality of reinforcement. The course of operant conditioning is accelerated by increase in the number, amount and quality of reinforcement. For example, if you are just given an appreciation, very good, you have got first prize in the poetry competition, wow, wonderful, that will not work every time. The number, amount or quality of reinforcement should be good. For example, you will want a certificate, you will want a shield on the annual day, right? And if it comes on your Facebook post or as a newspaper report, you will be feeling more happier. So the quality of reinforcement also helps to encourage that behavior, right? So schedule of reinforcement. Schedule means the number of the how the reinforcement is given. If the reinforcement is given continuously, then it elicits desired response every time during a trial. For example, a junior teacher, a pre-primary teacher, gives good or a star or a candy to a child every time he works. That is a continuous reinforcement. But if this continuous reinforcement stops, there is more chances of extinction. जब तक वो बच्चा को वो गुड मिलता रहेगा, वो जो कैंडी मिलती रहेगी, तब तक वो बच्चा अच्छा काम करता है. लेकिन जब वो ख़त्म हो जाता है तो एक इंस्टेंटली एक्सटिंक्शन की तरफ जाता है वो बिहेवियर, राइट? ये ज़्यादातर देखा गया है. तो एक्सटिंक्शन ज़्यादा होता है. लेकिन दूसरा होता है इंटरमिनेंट reinforcement, that elicits response only intermittently. That means if the writing is very good or you have done exceptionally good work, neat work, then only you will get the star, candy, and all those things. So there are lots of types of intermittent schedule of reinforcement. First is fixed ratio. Fixed ratio, students, this is not in your syllabus, but you should know it. That is why I'm introducing it. Fixed ratio means reinforcer is given after each X response, right? High response rate. Irregular scheduled termination or extinction is high also, right? Now next is fixed interval. What is fixed interval? Reinforcer is for the first response to occur after each X minutes. After every 5 minutes, I can give you the reinforcement, or every Monday, I will give you a reinforcement. This schedule stop working after reinforcement, works hard just prior to time for the next reinforcement, right? You know that you will get this thing on Monday. So you start working on Thursday and Friday to show your performance, and on Tuesday and Wednesday you can stop. So this is a slow and gradual decrease in the response sometimes. Variable ratio. Reinforcement is given after X responses on the average. Very high response rates, the higher the ratio, the higher the rate. Very resistant to extinction, maximum number of responses before extinction. That means after number of X number of responses, I give a reinforcement. I see that 10-20 work has been gone, that has been very good, then I give a response, a positive reinforcement. It leads to the person working harder and harder, because you are not, there is no fixed schedule. You are expecting the reinforcement every time you work, and you want to get that, and you are working harder and harder, and this does not extinct. This behavior is always learned properly. Variable interval. Now number reinforcer is given for the first response after X minutes on an average. Steady rate of responding, resistant to extinction. Now variable interval can be varied. After 5 minutes, after 10 minutes, after 5 good work, after 20 good work. This is also very effective, because a person is always working for that good remark or a good appreciation, and it does not lead to extinction. Now students, operant conditioning, delay in the delivery of reinforcement. It is very harmful for the operant conditioning, because if it results in the poor level of conditioning and performance. If you have won today, okay, poetry competition, you stood first today, there is no response from anyone, and after 6 months somebody says, oh, you won poetry competition, wow, wonderful. That response does not affect you. The delayed reinforcement will not encourage you. But at that moment only, if it is encouraged, it will work wonders. So, the delayed response or delayed conditioning, the delayed reinforcement is very bad. See, if you have won poetry competition, you get the prize today, little bit, and you get the shield in the annual function. That is good, because you have got one part of the reinforcement at that time only, and if the other one is delayed, then also it is not so ineffective, right? So it is important that we understand the time, the schedule, and the amount. All of them is important. Thank you students. I hope you have understood operant conditioning. Happy learning, happy living.